down to Donkey Park, listening to the wind of change. The future's in the air, can feel it everywhere, and blowing with the wind of change. Take me to the magic of the moment on a glory night, where the children of tomorrow dream away in the wind of change. Walking down the street, and distant memories are buried in the past forever. I follow the Moscow and down to Donkey Park, listening to the wind of change. Yeah, here we go. Take me to the magic of the moment on a glory night, where the children of tomorrow share their dreams with you and me. Take me to the magic of the moment on a glory night.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Liz Live Saturday, a special Liz Live Saturday. Why is it special? Well, I try to make every Liz Live special, but today is special because I'm going to do a literal, free for all as far as I have no research for today. I have things I want to talk about that I think are really important for all of us and the things that we're facing in life right now. And I want to wish a happy Passover to all of my friends who celebrate Passover. I am matzah balling tonight. I am matzah balling tonight at Amy Jacobs' house. Thank you, Amy. She's my friend. And by the way, she's an amazing manicurist, Bella Soul, and she and I are celebrating Passover tonight. She invited me to join her family, which was so nice. So I'm matzah balling today. Good morning to Liz Lee, who is actually Tara Lee. I owe you a phone call. I'm sorry, this week has been crazy. I'm going to tell you guys what's going on and how we're going to be talking a bit about change today. As you can see, Liz Live Studio is a bit of a disaster. Okay, so I'm lowering my microphone stand, and I was really at first I was like, you know what, I have to cover this up. I don't want the audience to see this. It's just embarrassing. This is not how I live. But I am moving out of this studio into a new one. And so it's a disaster because I have to, wrap and box the equipment and all my stuff. And it's a big production, to be quite honest with you. So this is the last Liz Live from this particular studio, but I mean, I'm still going to be live twice a week, so it's not like I'm not going to be here or anything. It's just going to be different. I don't know why Instagram isn't working. What's going on? So I just wanted you guys to know that I don't live like a pig, okay? And this is just kind of what happens when you're in transition and you're going through change. And when you're going through change, change is hard for human beings. We are creatures of habit and we don't like change. And we like routine. We're pretty adaptable, but I think in general, we really like things to stay the same and we like routine. And I as well like routine and I like things to stay, the same. But the only certainty in life is that there will be change, that you will die and you will pay taxes unless you don't mind having problems with the IRS. So generally, death and taxes are the things, but I like to say change. Change is one of those things that is unavoidable. It's a part of life. Our bodies change as we get older. Lord knows most of us try to fight that, but you can only fight Mother Nature so much. Our relationships change. Our living situations may change. Our perspectives and thinking about things may change. And when we're going through change, usually what gets us there, generally speaking, is not when something good happens. And that's a shame that life works that way. But, I rarely hear people say, things are so amazing, I'm just going to change for the better. When things are amazing, people kind of just, they love it and who wouldn't? And they just kind of stay where they're at. Then in order to change and in order, I think, to gain anything in life, you must be willing to change. And we resist it so much. And so I wanted to show my studio a disaster because while I'm sort of embarrassed, it's the truth of where I am right now. It's honest. Right now I'm getting ready for a major change you guys are gonna be with me through this change, through all of it. And so I want to talk about it because I think that everyone who comes to therapy, and although I love to run my mouth on politics simply because I care and I care about people, I'm a therapist first. I'm a marriage and family therapist and mental health counselor, and people come to therapy really all because of change. Either they want to change and they can't seem to change the way they want to, or they had change happen to them and they weren't expecting it. So, someone had an affair in a marriage, somebody died that they loved, maybe they lost their job, or they're having major financial problems, or whatever, something really major happened to them, and change tends to throw people off, right? Because when you're changing, it throws you off everything. It throws you off your comfort zone, your patterns, your routines. And we're going to talk about those patterns today and how our patterns play a role in our resistance of change. So nobody I meet in my therapy room is there because, oh, hey, Liz, we just came to therapy because things are fantastic. That doesn't happen. People come to therapy because things are horrible. And then I have to be the change agent for these people and sit with people in their pain and, in their love and their tears and their hopelessness and their anxieties, and try to help them be able to deal with the changes that are happening. So, and there's one of my girlfriends, Lisa, who's going to be waiting for me in my new Liz Live studio. She knows where I'm going. And so, Lee, since you just tuned in, the Liz Live studio looks like a disaster. And I'm telling everyone that, we're talking about change today and how, when you're going through change, it's ugly, right? I mean, that's how I meet people. I meet people through their pain, their anxiety, when they're feeling really horrible about themselves, when they're lost, they're confused. So in that way, the only way we can change is often if we go through things that are painful. And, it's a shame that it's that way, but that's the way it is. You have to talk to the man upstairs about that. I didn't design life this way, but it's the way that it is. And change is certain, and we'll all go through it. And if we don't go through change and we don't embrace that change, we never grow and evolve. And if we never grow and evolve, we'll never really reach our goals and our desire for happiness and love. And I think that the ultimate goal that everybody has in life is to be loved. All right. So I don't know if is everyone following me so far. So change, when bad things happen, when tragedies happen, when losses happen, that is a change, a sudden change in our lives. Sudden change will throw you off your course and bring you to your knees. And it forces you to really reflect upon yourself, the meaning of life, and will maybe even throw you into a bit of a depression or anxiety. And then, you call a therapist, God willing, or somebody that can help you. And then we act as change agents to sit with you, to hold you in your pain, to hold you and guide you and help you heal and achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve in happiness. But that period of change is messy. And that's why I just said, you know what? This is what it looks like, guys. I'm not going to hide it. It looks like shit. Okay. But I'm okay with it, because I know that, it's sort of representative of how people feel in their minds when change is happening, right? When somebody leaves you, cheats on you, dies, disappoints you, whatever, betrays you. It feels like, what's going on in this room right now. Chaos, messiness, disorder. Okay. And we got to put the pieces back together somehow and figure out how to move forward. And that's really what I want to talk about today. How do we do that? There's so many changes happening in society right now. There's so many changes happening, to our lives because of COVID. And, we've talked so many shows about that. I'm not really going to get into that today, but our lives have changed. Our children's lives have changed. The way that we can respond to them has changed. The way that we, communicate and socialize with other people has changed. The way we work has changed. The way we walk on the street has changed. Yeah, we walk around now with a mask. You can't even see who anybody is. When, just a year ago, that would have seemed like some kind of weird sci-fi movie. So now everybody comes to the therapist and says, well, what do we do? What do we do? How do we get through change? How do we manage it? And last night I watched, somebody suggested that I watch Dr. Martin Luther King's, I think it was called his final Sunday sermon. And it was his sermon right before he died. He was assassinated, but this was like the week before. And you can watch it on YouTube. It's about 47 minutes. So I gave it a whirl and I watched a beautiful, moving, speech. Of course, every word that comes out of Dr. King's mouth is beautiful because of his passion and his delivery. And it's been a long time since I listened to any of his speeches. So it was almost like all new to me again. And I kind of forgot about, his energy and his positions and things that he was so passionate about. And the speech is definitely worth watching, because there's a lot of wisdom in it. And it was really interesting in 2021 to watch, one of the most prolific, profound icons of our time speaking about how he saw the state of the world. And probably it was around the 60, I forget what year he was assassinated, maybe 65, something like that. So 68, 70, forgive my ignorance, I don't remember what year he was killed, but and this was his last speech. So it was interesting, and there's a lot of wisdom in it. And it was interesting to think, wow, okay, maybe 60 or so years later, maybe 50 years later, he was right on relevant. I mean, so it made me stop and think, have we really changed as a society? Have we? I think we have. I think we have in many ways, but I think the human experience is relatively the same. Dr. King's positions were talking about really just seeing all of the world as connected, that we have to have love and compassion for, every human being on the planet, that there are brothers and our sisters, and how important it is for the United States to, be well and be healthy, because the rest of the world depends on us in some way, because we're all connected, and that we should, worry about the poor and be taking better care of the poor. And, of course, racism was a huge problem then, and, still a problem today, but nothing like it was back then. So, I'm listening to him and I'm thinking, wow, it's been, probably 60 years since the speech. Have we changed? Where are we? And what are we doing to facilitate change in our lives? And what keeps us from caring? And what keeps us from making those changes? And what message can I convey to my viewers this morning that, would make any sense to them for the hardships they may be going through? And I opened with that beautiful song by the Scorpions with the Philharmonic, the Wings of Change. And I'm going to play it at the end of the show as well. So I thought, what can I share? What messages do we need to hear? And I think, besides using that as a mirror to kind of try to see, how much have we evolved? How have we evolved? How do humans handle change? How do we treat each other? How have we handled what's been happening? I only came up with, really more questions, but I think a theme that I've been hearing about a lot in my therapy room is people who feel stuck, people who are going through a difficult change, but they can't seem to get to that light, to that special place. And again, that special place is different for everyone. For some people, it may be just peace. For some people, it will be to, really love themselves. For some people, it would be to find love. For some people, it would be to, follow their dreams, or, improve their relationship with their children or their spouses or their parents, or, whatever. We all have these different changes that we're going through. And many people my age, I know right now, are losing their parents. COVID took a lot of, so much of the elderly population away the past year. And that, of course, affected a lot of people in their 40s and 50s and 60s, because it was our parents. Not mine particularly, but it was a lot of my friends' parents that were affected. So we've got a lot of sad times, happening right now. And I was listening to someone else's podcast, and there was this really interesting woman on, and she was talking about, she wrote a book called Hell in the Hallway, Light at the Door. And I was so intrigued by the title of that podcast. I thought, okay, I really have to listen to this and see what she's talking about. Hell in the Hallway, Light in the Door. What does that mean? And so I read further and I listened to the podcast. And this studio, the way it looks with boxes piled and stuff everywhere and everything like that, that is hell in the hallway, right? I'm in a little bit of a hell in the hallway, right? Because I'm in this transition and I'm here, but I have to get to there. And for me to get to where I'm going, there's a lot of stuff that I have to do and get done and have the strength to handle in order to get to the light at the door. And that's hard for people to do. It's really hard for people to do, because we are creatures of habit, because we thrive and we feel safest when things are routine and the same. But like I said in the beginning of the show, the only certain thing in life is that there will be change. So we have to learn and develop skills to handle that change, so that when it happens, we don't have a mental breakdown, which is okay to have, by the way. We've all been there. But and that's what I'm here for. But obviously, we have moments when we are in that hell in the hallway. And I describe the hell in the hallway as not actual hell, but an actual dark emotional time when we are confused, we're scared, we're overwhelmed, We are hurting, maybe by somebody else, maybe by something that happened, and we don't see a way out of it, and we don't see a way to deal with it. And that usually happens in our transitory periods in life. And that is what this speaker referred to as hell in the hallway, light in the door. And by the way, she wrote a book, which I plan on reading shortly, but I highly recommend Instagram and Facebook watcher viewers that you get this book. And I want to help people get out of this hallway and deal with the hallway that I'm in and that, so many of us are in. And I know so many of my clients that I was with this week, are in that hallway. And most people, again, that are coming to therapy are in that hallway. So what keeps us in that hallway, and what is it that's keeping us away from the light at the end of the door? And I gave this a lot of thought last night after I listened to Dr. Martin Luther King's speech. And I think that what keeps us in that hallway is, really one word, and that is fear. And we're afraid. We don't know what is coming. We ask ourselves, can I handle this? Will I be okay? Will somebody love me? Will someone hold my hand? Will I be successful if I do this change? Will I be happy? Will I be loved? Right? That's the big question. And the reason that we get stuck there in that tunnel is because we're always looking for love outside of ourselves. We're looking for love from another person, from certain relationships, from vanity, the way we look, which again, I'm not judging any of these things. I'm guilty of all of them, but I'm just, kind of talking about what I think goes on in our minds. So we get stuck, fear of all of these questions about ourselves, and we look for things outside to give us validation that yes, we're doing the right thing, or yes, this will be okay, and yes, I will be loved, and I'll be safe, and I'll be able to thrive in this new place in my life without this new person, or without this person who left me, or without this job that I lost, or without this book deal that I lost, or without this, money I lost in the stock market, or, whatever it is. And when these changes happen, we tend to blame ourselves, and fear takes over, and we wind up stuck in hell in the hallway. And I think one of the ways that we can start to get out of that hell and move towards the door is we do have to have some sort of, and I say this word really openly, but I think we need some sort of faith. And I'm not talking about religion, people. I am not talking about religion. And I'm not trying to get religious, because I'm not religious and that's not my place. I'm talking about some sort of belief or understanding that something is at work here, whether it's for inner growth, for personal growth, to get you to a stage where something really fabulous might happen, where you may reach your goals. I think we have to journey through that fear and stop looking for love outside of ourselves or through things that are not of, authenticity of the self. And I think we also have to face and embrace the fact that life is not fair. If you think life is fair, you're fooling yourself. I'm here to tell you that it's very unfair. You will be very disappointed at multiple times in your life, and you will not always get what you want when you want it. And that's the way it is. And again, I didn't design it. I'm just living it. And these are my experiences. And this is what a lot of, therapy models are based on. That, helping our clients come to terms with the fact that life is not fair. It's not going to be fair. So expect it to be unfair. Expect to be disappointed and let down by people that you love. make wise choices about who you keep in your circle and who you say goodbye to, and try to look inward for that peace or for that light, and not for vanity, money, things, status, all those things that are phony and fleeting. They're nice things to have, but they're not stable. They will always change. So we have to think about us as an individual and the roles that we play and how we can get through this hell in the hallway. And step one, you have to accept where you're at. The more you fight it, the worse you make things for yourself. So you have to be able to say, okay, I'm in the hallway. I'm in the hell in the hallway. I'm in a transition. And we know that they always pass. We know that they always pass. And so it's a temporary stage of life that we all go through. And we have to then look inward and say, okay, what can I learn from this experience? How can this experience that is so painful and so disappointing make me a better person, a kinder person, a smarter person, a more loving person, instead of a more bitter, angry person? Because most of us, and that includes me, have gone through these transition periods, and I've felt really, really sorry for myself at times. And I know that when I've done that, that just makes it worse. It's not helpful. And if I had accepted at those times that, hey, life isn't fair and you can't always get what you want when you want it, I might have not had such a hellish, moment, or phase of my life, because I wasn't, embracing the change that is the most certain thing in life. So ask yourselves right now, am I in this hell in the hallway, in this transition? What is missing? What is it that you want in your life for yourself that you don't have or haven't achieved? And be honest with yourself and look in the mirror and ask yourself, why don't you have those things? Is it bad luck? Bad decisions? Are you bitter? Are you angry still at people that hurt you? Have you let that go? Are you waiting for your life to change just by, feeling sorry for yourself, or because, you're focusing on outside things that have no real deep meaning? And if those things are happening, then that's your fault. Sorry to say it, and I don't mean that in a blaming, judgmental, bad way. I mean, I would never say to a client, anything that would make them feel bad, but you have to hold up the mirror and say, okay, if I don't like the way things are going in my life, I need to do that change, and I need to make that change from things that are real, which is us, our relationships, and the things that are, I would say, everlasting, love and peace, and how to achieve those things. Because when we learn how to do those things within ourselves, everything on the outside changes. American culture has a really bad habit of thinking, well, if I change everything on the outside, then I'll be better in the inside. But you can talk to people who have great wealth or great beauty or both, and have everything material in this world that they could ever want, and they're not happy. Trust me, I'm a therapist. I see this all the time. They're not happy because that doesn't bring anybody happiness. What brings people happiness and joy and satisfaction are relationships and a connection to each other, and trying to make this world a better place, no matter which way you are going or moving or thinking. There's nothing more meaningful than love, than your friends and your family and whoever you love. So when you're in that hell in the hallway, we have choices, and I talk about this all the time when I do these therapy shows and post my like political stuff, I always talk about choices and decision making. And if you were to come in my office and you're in the hell in the hallway, which is 99% of all my clients, if not 100%, we have to really examine the fears, the what are you afraid of? And I think most of us are afraid of not receiving love and being alone. And I was listening to a therapist yesterday on a podcast, and she was saying that in order for us to experience true love and true connection, we must get naked. And she said, I don't mean naked by dropping trowel. She said, I mean emotionally naked. And I said, oh, this is interesting. What does she mean by this? And she said a couple really profound things. And one of the things she said is, for example, in a relationship, we may hold back our love for someone or the way that we feel for somebody in romance or family or whatever, because, we think, well, if I say too much about how I feel or how I'm loving you, maybe you'll run away. She used this as an example. I don't tell you how much I love you because I'm afraid if I do, that it'll overwhelm you and you'll run away from me. And that is how you get naked emotionally, to actually say that rather than just not tell somebody how much you love them, right? And I thought that was beautiful. And if we could get naked, and again, not dropping trowel here, as the therapist said yesterday, but as a way of all the insecurities, all the fears, just sharing them with another human being who will hold you in that space and love you regardless. And those people are hard to find. And so she was saying, as therapists, that's what we can do for our clients because it's safe, because we would never harm our clients. And so our clients can go there with us, and it's a very conscious relationship, and we can, kind of we as therapists, we go through a lot of change and growth with our clients, because as we help and teach our clients to grow, we change and grow. I'm who I am today, not just because of my parents, but also because of my clients. My clients are just the most amazing teachers for me. And they think I'm their teacher, but they're my teacher. And I think if we approach life in this way and we start really getting naked with our friends, our family, and again, not literally, emotionally naked. I can't remember her name, but she's actually a therapist down in Florida. And she wrote a book. I forget, something on ultimate love or something. And it was just a great interview, what she had to say. And so applying that to being in the hell in the hallway, it's a time to reflect and really sit with ourselves or our therapists or closest friends and confidants and say, what is it that I'm so afraid of? And why am I so motivated by that fear? Because once you face your fears and really do go to that emotionally naked place, it doesn't hurt you anymore. It doesn't scare you anymore because you've gone there, And I can't explain it, but it's like you've been set free. And I try to help couples do that with each other in my couples therapy. And I'm trying to pass it on to all of you watching this morning, because we're all going through periods of change right now. Whether you're in that hallway or not, you will be, or you have been. Because remember, life is not fair, and you will not always get what you want when you want it. And change will always happen. And these are just facts of life that, we have to embrace. It doesn't mean we can't be depressed. We can't cry about it. We can't be sad about it. We can't feel sorry for ourselves for a little while. But then at some point, we've got to reflect within. And, of course, I think therapy is the best way to do that because I'm a therapist. But there are other ways of doing it. You don't have to come to us. You can go on your own journey, with reading and so much information out there now. You can sit on YouTube for an hour and just look up videos and just be with yourself and just look inward and say, okay, what is blocking me from going to the light at the door? Why can't I get there? Because the sages say we can get there even when we're in the hell. And that's sort of what I'm talking about today. And I think that, yes, we can. And I think one of the ways to do that, besides what I've already said, aside from, life isn't fair, you must not get what you want when you want it, and I have to look inward and understanding what's holding me back, I think we also have to learn to appreciate little things. There's a great proverb. I think it's a Hindu proverb, but I'm not sure. Can't remember. And it's this little chipmunk, and he's on the branch of a tree, and there's a crocodile on the ground chomping and waiting to catch the chipmunk when he falls, if he goes down. And there's a big hawk above the chipmunk waiting to just swoop in and eat him. So he's trapped, right? If he runs up the tree, the hawk's going to get him. And if he goes down the tree, the alligator's going to eat him right up. So he's going to die in a minute either way. And what he does is he takes a berry off the leaf of a tree and he eats it. And he says, oh, this berry tastes so sweet. And I love that idea that even in a moment of his death where he was about to die and be eaten and violently killed, he still took a moment to enjoy his little berry. And he was enjoying a moment, regardless of what was happening. And I had a moment the other day where, I was late for clients. I had all this stuff happening and I was, getting all frazzled, and I saw this really good chocolate truffle on my kitchen counter and I ate it and I said, man, I love this chocolate. And it just gave me a moment of escape for a minute. I ate the berry. So think about when you're in this hell in the hallway, what can you do to even enjoy a moment that might make that hallway a little brighter? And if you keep experiencing moments like that, you get closer and closer and closer to the light. Because if we are always living in the past, I've learned that people who live in the past are depressed and people who live in the future are anxious. So it's never really healthy to live too far into the future, because then you're going to be asking a million questions. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if this doesn't happen? What if this does happen? And then your mind goes racing off and you're done and you're having a panic attack, right? And if you are always, hanging out in your past and, oh, I missed this or I missed that or I should have done this and I didn't do that and why didn't I make this decision? I should have made that decision. Then all you're going to do is beat yourself up and be depressed. So the future hasn't happened, so it's not real. And I'm not the first person to talk about this theory. I mean, it's all over the place, right? Be in the present. We all hear that trite little statement, but there's a lot of truth to it, right? If there's a hawk above you and a crocodile below you and you're going to get eaten, take a bite of the berry before you go. Do a little something and think about, what can I do in this hallway? And that's another tool that I teach people in therapy to practice. And it's not going to happen right away for you, and it's not going to solve all your problems, but it's going to help you experience moments of joy. And when you experience the small moments of joy, even in that hell of a hallway, you're bringing light, joy into your life, and you're moving yourself more in that direction that you want to go, towards the goals that you want to achieve, rather than hanging in your past, hanging in your future. Hang out in this moment and do everything you can to remove and clear that path. And that clearing that path and that moment and that gift that you've been given to be able to reflect on yourself, to get clear and get cleaned up and to go into the future and walk towards something wonderful rather than run away from something that was bad. Am I making sense? Give me a thumbs up if I'm making sense. Okay, I want to get to some viewers' questions here. Okay, good morning to everyone on Facebook, and good morning to everybody on Instagram. And I see one of my friends who I'm doing Seder with tonight is on. Hi, Michael. I'm looking forward to tonight's Seder with you. Thank you for watching. Good morning. And what is it about love that makes us do, say, and act in crazy, absurd ways that we otherwise would never do? Oh, I love this question. Is it chemical, psychological, or something else? My producer picks the best questions of all of you guys to put out there. Thank you for that question. Okay, let's talk about it. So I have a great story about love. And when I took my very first class in graduate school at Barry University, Miami Shores, Florida. Oh my gosh, what was my professor's name? She was just fantastic. Oh my gosh, I can't think of it. But anyway, Dr. Shore, I think was her name. So my first class was marriage and issues in marriage and family. And so, we talked a lot about marriage and loving relationships and so on and so forth. And she wrote on the chalkboard one day all of these symptoms. She wrote mania, insomnia, depression, delusional, hallucinations, rapid heartbeat, bipolar behavior, which is like up and down, feelings of, I forget what, but it was every bad symptom you could have with mental illness. And she said, okay, who can come up with the diagnosis? So I'm really trying to get there. I want to be the class star here. It's my first class in graduate school. I'm going to figure this out. I had done my reading. I was prepared, and I'm yelling out, schizophreniform disorder, bipolar 2, this, and nope. She kept saying, you're wrong, Statlander, wrong. And everyone in the class was, depression with psychotic features, ADHD, whatever. We're throwing out all this stuff. And she kept saying no. And so finally, we're like, come on, like, what is it? We all studied. We can't figure it out. And she took her chalk and she wrote LOVE underline. This is what happens when we fall in love. And we all went, oh my God. We didn't think of that, because the symptoms of falling in love look like many symptoms of mental illness. And so this question is so awesome. So why does that happen? Well, the viewer's asking, is it chemical? Is it a chemical, psychological, or something else that makes us act so crazy over love? And of course, you could look at this in many ways, but the general research that's been done, and there's been quite a bit done on new love and romance. And, if you're really interested in reading some really good stuff, just type in Dr. John Gottman into YouTube or Google and, listen to his lectures and read his books. They're amazing. And he studies couples through PET scans and brain scans, and he studies speech patterns and brain chemistry and everything. And what the scientists, the researchers have discovered is that it is largely biological, that what goes on because of the neurotransmitters and hormones that are released because of sex and hugging and kissing, which releases oxytocin, that we get this rush of dopamine, this rush of serotonin, this rush of oxytocin, which is we call it the love hormone, but it's actually the bonding hormone or neurotransmitter that new moms produce, like in huge levels when they first have a baby, because it helps them bond. It makes them sensitive to the cries of their baby. So it's love, if you want to look at it from a scientific basis, is very biological, and it's very, very proven through good long-term experimentation and study. So, my friends, it's largely biological, okay? And when you are having a lot of sex with somebody new, you're both of you are, you're secreting large amounts of the bonding hormone, oxytocin, or the love bug. We call it the love bug, or you have the love bug, or the love hormone is, pumping in much larger levels than you're used to. So you just can't stop thinking about this person. You have to hold them. You have to touch them. You have to look at them. You have to have sex with them all the time. You can't be away from them, or you feel, oh my gosh. And that is largely biological and chemical. Now, that being said, I do believe that when it comes to love and the way we feel about people, there's also a lot of psychological things that are happening as well. And I think it's the psychological a lot that plays into who and what we feel energized by and who we feel attracted to. Because I think attraction is like an energy match. And so when we feel that, like an energetic match, because we all, walk around line up with this person that you're feeling love for, and it's totally subconscious, but those vibes, do you feel like, you just know when you feel good, like people who are falling into love, and you're really, oh, I feel so good when I'm with them. Okay. And they say, they make me so happy and I just feel so comfortable with them. And, a lot of that is really just the energy of that attraction. And that energy of attraction is, yes, it's energetic, but it's also psychological, right? We fall in love with things that are familiar to us. Okay. So the men or the women that we choose to fall for, they psychologically say something to us. When we see them, when we feel them, he kind of reminds me of my dad. She kind of reminds me of my mom. She kind of reminds me of my sister. He kind of reminds me of my husband who passed away. He kind of reminds me of that professor that, was my mentor. And so there's psychological imprints that we walk around with from positive or negative experiences with people that sort of make up this map of attraction and that set the stage for who and what we're attracted to. So, we tend to have a type. Why do we have a type? Well, look at your family and look at what's familiar to you. What do you like? I have three brothers, but my two older brothers are brawn. They're always like really just built athletically, and we're pretty masculine guys, and they were like my superheroes. And so I think I've always been attracted to big athletic guys because of my brothers. Not saying I'm attracted to my brothers, but saying that is in my familiarity imprint, right? A lot of people wind up marrying somebody who has the same profession as their parents or similar personality to their parents. Does that mean they're in love with their parents? No. Sigmund Freud might think so, but I don't. But it sparks that familiarity, oh, that feels right to me. That feels familiar. That's what I believe is attractive because it's on that psychological imprint in my brain. So psychology also plays a big part of it. Do they say and do things that make you feel loved and make you feel good, make you feel special, trigger the pleasure parts of your brain that make you say, yes, this is a person I want to hang out with. And so it's all of those. And then what was the other one? So is it psychological, chemical, and something else? And I also think attachment is a big part of it. And that's also psychological. So if we tend to have secure attachments with our families and our parents, then we're more likely to have those same type of attachments to our romantic partners. And if we don't have stable, connected relationships with our families, we really need to process that in therapy, because chances are we'll pick that same pattern over and over and over again until we intervene in that pattern and we change it. So if you're one of those people that says, geez, shit, why do all my relationships not work out? So I would say, well, let's take a look at what's going on here. Let's go through your relationship history. Let's find out what you're repeating. Let's understand why you're repeating that. Let's change it. Let's intervene in it. So I think that attachment theory is huge also. So I would say it's probably 50 bio and 50 psychological. And then, of course, there's that divinity. There's that divine stuff that, none of us can explain, that just makes you say, I just want to be with this person. Right. And that might be, from beyond something scientists cannot quantify, that we can't see or understand. So there's a lot of that. Timing, I think timing plays a role in it. Okay, so let's see. Our next question is, why does it take us so long to get over disappointment, broken relationships, love, etc.? I have been trying to answer that question my whole life. And I'll tell you what I've thought of, but I don't know that I have an actual answer. I think that while we run towards things that make us feel good, like love or a particular person or a drug or alcohol or shopping or gambling, whatever our vice is, when we run towards that stuff, I think what we're doing is we're running towards the feeling of pleasure. And some of us can control how far those feelings of pleasure go, because we're aware and we know if we do too much of something that it's going to become really bad and dangerous no matter what it is. And some of us just can't control that. We just run with it. So I believe that once we find something that really feels good and that we invest ourselves in emotionally, the thought of losing that is so daunting that we will literally do anything to avoid the pain of loss. Because I do believe that grief is the strongest emotion. And I think we grieve according to the investment of love that we put into someone or something relationship-wise. So I think that we all want to avoid grief. And so since we're all running from grief, we will sit and stay in relationships that are hurting us just to avoid the pain of loss, because loss is painful. Grief is painful, whether it's a breakup of a year or a death of a 30-year marriage. It hurts the same, because it's always, pain is relative. So if you're asking why does it take so long, I believe that, the avoidance of grief and the pain is the major thing. But I also think that people in love become patterns, and they become patterns of behavior, patterns of thinking, patterns of, like those of you who maybe, lost someone you love. I remember when I lost my mom, I would keep going to pick up the cell phone to call her, because we talked 3-4 times a day. And even after she was dead, I would still go to call the cell phone. Not that I would actually do it or expect her to answer, but it was just a pattern of behavior. So when I would go to call her on the cell phone and I realized that I couldn't call her because she clearly wasn't going to answer, then that broke a pattern, and that reminded me of the loss. And then that made me sad, and that put me into the feelings of grief. And so even if you think about, let's say you're trying to get over, a romantic relationship, whether that relationship was good or bad, it had its patterns. And people love patterns because it makes them feel safe. If I repeat this and I repeat this and I repeat this, even if it's not feeling that great, at least I know where I am, at least I know what I'm doing. And so I'll just stick with this pattern and I'm just going to stay with it. And so then when that's no longer there, brain chemistry changes. Grief is a lot of brain chemistry, right? And patterns, and changing those patterns is very difficult. Circling back to what the show's about, which is dealing with change. Hell in the hallway, light at the door, right? How do we get to that light when change and loss is so painful? Because change is loss. Change, when you change, you lose stuff. You lose things. Whether it's the room, whether it's a person, whether it's both, whether it's, money, whatever, you change, you lose, but you change and you gain, right? So, you're going to lose for a while. You're going to feel really bad for a while because your patterns are changing and your life is changing and everything you did is different. But eventually, that it's temporary and that life will open up again. But when you're in that hell in the hallway, it's very hard to see that it will end at some point. So that's why I think it takes so long. How does love sometimes turn so ugly and destructive? Well, okay, let me see. That's a tough one. How does love sometimes turn so ugly and destructive? Well, I think insecurities would be the first thing that pops into mind, that when we invest ourselves into somebody that we believe loves us, it's a very vulnerable place to be because we can be so easily hurt by that person. So our romantic partners really, I think the reason they're called significant other is because they hold such a significant place in our lives and in our hearts. And when our insecurities are being, I will say, triggered and activated, and they can only be triggered and activated by people that you love and have invested yourself in, your emotions go all over the place. Your patterns are broken, your emotions are all over the place, and you just lash out because you have such high emotion invested in this relationship. And when you're very insecure, which all of us are, by the way, I'm not saying one person, we are all insecure. So sure as I'm sitting here, we all have insecurities. So when those are triggered and highlighted, we start, hating ourselves and blaming everybody, and we can get really ugly with other people. Or, we feel betrayed by the person that we have decided to put in this place that's supposed to love us. And so now we can become vengeful, or we can become angry, and vengeance and anger is just a secondary emotion. The primary emotion there is pain, is hurt, disappointment, abandonment, all those disappointments. And then our insecurities get triggered, and we start lashing out and blaming and getting sucked into this drama, and we tell all our friends, and then our friends get mad at the person, and it just feeds on itself. It's a human drama. And when people are hurt, it's very hard to contain our emotions. I mean, I'm totally guilty of that. We're all human. I mean, that's part of the human experience. And I think when you get really, really unhealthy relationships, then you're going to see really, really unhealthy endings to those relationships. And they will get really, really destructive because the people themselves are really, really destructive. And if that's happening to you, please stop and take a breath and step back and say, okay, wait a minute. This is not productive for me. This is not me taking care of my mental health. So I'm going to not engage in this stuff. And sometimes I tell my clients, just stop talking about it with people. Just wait till you get to therapy, because it's the toxicity from everyone's opinions and everything that they're saying is making it worse. So again, look within when you're in the hell in the hallway. Don't look without. Don't look outside yourself. Look within yourself. And remember, therapists should be able to help you do that. I know I definitely can, and I would think most therapists, that's what we do. We should be able to help you reflect and do that work. And I think that's why it gets so destructive. High emotions equal high destructiveness. I mean, that's what's happening in the world today, right? People have these strong emotions all of a sudden about politics when, a couple of years ago, they didn't give a crap, now everyone's so politics. So, we're reacting emotionally about everything constantly and create this huge human drama. And if you listen to Dr. Martin Luther King from 60 years ago, like I did last night, you'll see like they were just as upset 60 years ago as we are now. And I think they had even more to be mad about, for sure, than we do today. We're spoiled. We are so spoiled. Such a spoiled country. But that's another subject for another day. And then, okay, this final question I have up here is, Liz, can you explain why it is we always hurt the ones we love? Yes, I think I can. You know how, like, I always think when I think of that question, why is it we always hurt the ones we love? I always think of the mother-daughter relationship. And there's a lot of good books you can read on the mother-daughter dynamic because it's so intense and it's so, it's just intense. It's the only word I can think of for a million reasons. And again, that's a whole nother show. But the mother-daughter relationship, it's reflective. The daughter's looking at the mother for love, approval, validation, everything. The child is very needy to the mother, no matter how independent that child may seem. And when the mother isn't giving that validation and that love back in the package that the daughter wants it, the daughter gets hurt and becomes angry. And then the mother becomes hurt and angry. And there we go. Okay. But we know that with our mothers, we can say things and they're still going to love us, right? You can shit all over your mother and they're still going to love you. And that's just the way motherhood goes. I mean, I shit all over my mother when I was a teenager. My gosh. And that was sad. That was really sad. I have no audio. You mean everyone on Instagram's been listening with no audio? Oh my gosh, that's horrible. I wish someone would have told me. Well, thanks for letting me know that. So I think that when we have this mother-daughter relationship, is that any better? That explains. Oh, there it is. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I hope the whole show wasn't like that. My gosh, thank you. So when I think of why we always hurt the ones we love, I think about that. I think about, oh my God, we always hurt the people that are the safest, right? And we might do it to our romantic partners. And one of the things I always say in therapy to my couples is, why are we speaking worse to each other than we would to some stranger we don't know working at a store? We wouldn't walk into Rite Aid and say, fuck you, right? I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that on Facebook. But we'll say it to our partners. What's up with that? It's because it's safe. Because we ran into Rite Aid and we said, F you to the clerk, she probably wouldn't serve you and she'd send you on your way, right? It's not safe to do it. So we tend to treat the ones we're closest to, unfortunately, and sometimes in the worst ways. And what a tragedy that is. What a tragedy that is, And again, I'm sure I'm guilty of it too. I'm not trying to preach here, but I'm just saying, it happens a lot. So taking this conversation full circle for Traeger Lee, thanks for 2021. Thank you for telling me about the audio. And to everybody else, I'm really sorry. I hope the whole show wasn't like that. Please tell me if you ever can't hear me, because I'm going to try and fix that. So thank you so much for letting me know. So full circle, okay? And then I'm going to wrap it up for Saturday. Change is hard, okay? I left my studio a disaster because I'm changing. I'm moving my studio, and I'm moving the location, and it's a lot of work, and this is what change looks like. It's chaotic and it's messy. So I'm just going to be authentic and just here it is, okay? And I promise you the next Liz Live won't look like this, okay? But I'm still going to be in the change process. And the change process is something that we avoid, because with change comes loss. With change comes the unknown. With change comes a feeling of being stuck in hell in the hallway, right? In that hallway of life where we feel like we're stuck and we'll never be happy again. And we know there's light at the door, but we just don't know how to get there, and we don't know if we really believe it's real. So I'm talking today about how we can get out of that hallway on our own. And, I talked about it for an hour, so I can't go back over the whole hour. But what I can say is that we learned that we have to accept change, because change is certain. And change is how we stay stable, right? We have to change. We have to grow. We have to evolve. And we don't generally change when things are going well. So the universe will serve us up a nice slice of chaos and pain to force us into that hallway. And then in that hallway, hopefully we contact a good therapist or figure out on our own how to go within and stop looking for the answers for happiness outside of ourselves, because you'll never find it. You'll never be satisfied. So when we go within, we can look and examine out what is it that's blocking us. Fear, insecurities, being ungrateful of beautiful moments and beautiful things that we do have, and understanding that it's temporary and taking that time to improve ourselves rather than feel sorry for ourselves. And we need help. We all need help when we're in that hallway. So, I'm always available for therapy. I'm always available, and, there are many other skilled, talented therapists out there that you can reach out to, and you can watch, positive, podcasts and vodcasts like this to keep yourself in that good frame of mind, and, to learn how to care. And that's what I'm trying to do with these shows, is to, touch people and motivate people to reach out and get help, or to get your therapy from these videos. That's fine. Talk show therapy. You can do that too. If you're not into therapy, that's okay. There are other ways of doing it. But of course, I love and believe in therapy. I think it's wonderful. But some people like this, going to church or synagogue, and some people like doing, fitness. Like, I always find my most peaceful place when I'm working out, doing yoga, or lifting weights, or taking a walk outside. Some people like to cook. I love cooking. Do things that you love to do, even though you're so sad. And if you want to be sad for a while. That's okay. That you don't have to be happy all the time. Life isn't always a bowl of cherries, and sometimes you just can't be happy, and that's totally fine. But we can always find little moments of pleasure, even in those moments of just sheer unhappiness. So that's all I have to say today for Liz Live. So I will be coming to you, I guess it's going to be next week, from my new studio, which will be a big surprise. So I'm not going to tell you anything about it, except that next Liz Live, we're going to be in a new place, and it won't look like a disaster. So now I have to deal with my hallway today and get all this stuff organized and ready to go. And I love you all, and thank you for watching Liz Live this morning. And I will see you Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. to talk about, who knows, whatever's exciting and happening next Wednesday at 11 a.m. So be well. Happy Passover, everybody, all the Jews, matzah ballin today, and to all the Christians out there. I know Easter's coming up, and happy Easter, and may you have joyous holidays and many blessings and many wonderful things to come for the spring. And again, I will see you on Wednesday from the new Liz Live studio. Thank you for watching Liz Live, and I promised I would take us out with that beautiful song that I started us with. Okay, here we go. And this is the Scorpions with the Philharmonic Change.
When school isn't a place you have to be,